I'd like to introduce our first Fireside Chat of the day. It's a conversation with Marcus Buckingham. He's a New York Times bestselling author and one of the world's most acclaimed researchers in strengths, human performance, and the future of how people work. And now we're excited to have Marcus here to talk about his new book, which sounds pretty awesome. I haven't read it yet, but I will. And it was just published last week. It's titled Love and Work: How to Find What You Love What You Do, and Do It for the Rest of Your Life. And it's from the Harvard Business Review Press. And also here to chat with Marcus is the editor-in-chief of the Harvard Business Review, Ignatius. Adi has held many top posts in journalism, including the deputy managing editor of Time, and where he supervised the Person of the Year and Time 100 editions, and bureau chief for the Wall Street Journal in Beijing and Moscow. So please welcome Marcus and Adi.
Morning.
He's Marcus. Everybody has a copy of, or everybody has access to a copy of Marcus's book. From day one, was kind enough to buy up a lot of copies. So if you don't already have it, I urge you to pick it up. Full disclosure, I am the publisher. We're going to talk about the book. Make of that what you will. But Marcus, let's jump right in. Okay, so I think the trick is tease the book. Give people, a sense of generally, love and work. What are you talking about? Without saying so much that people think, I don't have to read this now.
Got it. Perfect.
All right.
So, love and work. Hi. It is lovely to be here. It is lovely to be here in person. Well, the book's called Love and Work. So, one reason's scientific. I'm a psychometrician by training, and some of you know I've just spent most of my career trying to measure things about people that are really important, but that you can't count. So engagement, strengths, resilience. And if you really look, Adi, at all of the questions that you've asked to try to measure high performance from low performance or differentiate high performance from low performance, recognition is important, feeling a sense of mission is important, feeling like someone wants to develop you is important. But the two questions that keep consistently, meta-analytically popping out are, do I have a chance to use my strengths every day at work, and was I excited to go to work every day last week? Those two questions point directly to whether or not you think that going to work every day is something that brings you nourishment or joy or love. There's no data that says you should do what you love. That whole thing about do what you love and you never have to work a day in your life again. Yeah, there's no data on that at all, actually. So the most successful people don't love all that they do. They just don't. But they do find love in what they do, and that's really different, and that's really possible. And if you interview highly successful people in any job and you ask them about what it is that they do, any job, Adi, you see the love in it. You can feel the love in it. I could give you a million different details and specifics, but you felt this. When you're at your best, you can feel, as Mike Mahai said, you can feel yourself vanishing into what it is that you're doing. You can feel the time go by, not all the time, but every day. So on one level, there's a scientific reason. When you see excellence, you see love. Loveless excellence is oxymoronic. Loveless service is oxymoronic. Loveless resilience is oxymoronic. If we want resilience or excellence, we got to talk about love. Sorry. We got to talk about it because it's there when you see those things happening. The other part of it's personal. I'm like everyone, as Nick was saying, like the last 4 or 5 years, including the pandemic, kind of they're personally challenging times where you look in the mirror and you try to decide what it is that you're all about. I've lost my dad, lost my marriage, sold my company, pandemic. You look in the mirror, maybe it's just me, but you look in the mirror and you go, what are you doing? What are you doing? What kind of mark are you? We're here for such a short time. What kind of mark are you leaving? And for those of you in HR, yes, as John was saying, Nick was saying, what an amazing job you've all done over the last 2 years particularly. But companies now will have to meet us. We are changed creatures, aren't we, in the last 2 years? We're changed. And companies that get in sync with where we are emotionally, and I think love is part of that equation, Adi, will deserve the best people. And when you've got one applicant for 1.8 openings, companies are going to have to be really striving to meet people emotionally with where they're at. So love and work, there's 17 different reasons why, but those two, the science one and the personal one, I suppose, those are the two big ones.
Marcus just got engaged a couple of days ago, so it hasn't been all bad.
I did. Yay! Haven't told her yet, though, so you know.
Yeah. This is just entre nous. Please. She'll say yes. So you talk about the concept of love in your book a lot and in a lot of different ways, and you know, one of those concepts is that managers need to love their employees. You know, what does that mean to you? You know, how does that manifest itself?
Well, one of the interesting questions is to think about what's a relationship for? Like, what's a relationship for? And you can think about it in terms of relationship is for complementarity, as in you complete me, Adi, you know?
Oh.
It's for similarity, where we share the same values. You can find it's for protection, I'm here for you, you know? And it may be for all of those things, but certainly in the best relationships that you've ever had, a relationship is to see the other person. I mean, how great is it to go into work and be seen? I mean, when you have, by the way, in healthcare, for example, nurse supervisor to nurse ratios of 1 to 60, and then we wonder why nurses burn out. How does that poor nurse supervisor see 60 people? What is that nurse going through? What's she thinking, or what's he feeling, or what's going on in his or her life? I mean, you just want to be seen at work. When you've got spans of control, which are really spans of attention, or in this case, inattention, of that big, you can't see a person. So love means seeing a person. I don't mean seeing the truth about a person. We don't know the truth of another person, but it's to have another person feel seen, which for a manager, I know that's tricky. But the other main point of a relationship is to help the other person be bigger. I want you to be bigger. If you've ever been in a loving relationship, it's because you know the person sees all of you, and they don't want to perfect you, right? They don't want to make you better. You're fine. They want to make you bigger. And that's a beautiful feeling. So in managers, when you've ever had a really good manager, if you've had a really good manager, it's because they've seen all of you, and then when, I don't want you to be this person, I don't want you to be me, I don't want to give you feedback to correct you so you can be a more perfect version of yourself. I just see who you are in terms of your uniqueness, in terms of your attributes, your skills, your talents, and I want you to be bigger, to be a bigger, more contributive version of you. That's a beautiful thing for managers to bring, even if occasionally that's tough love, as in, I'm going to get you not what you want, I'm going to get you what's right for you, even if it's not what you want. That's tough love, and sometimes it's necessary in business. I'm sure some of you felt that. But a loving relationship at work is, I want you to grow. Why? Because I care about you, and because I don't care about you. So, and that isn't easy. Humans are complicated. We don't want to oversimplify things. We need somebody, you know, 1 to 60 will break that relationship like that, and then we wonder why people burn out. So that's what we mean in love and work in terms of what a great manager does, or a great team leader does on a team. You see uniqueness, and the person feels seen and wants and knows that you want them to express it.
So we spend a lot of pages in Harvard Business Review talking about generational differences, how you manage, you know, Gen X versus Gen Z versus Boomers. I didn't notice you talking a lot about that. I'm curious if you think that some of these generational observations are misguided or irrelevant, and that these are sort of universal truths that you're talking about, regardless of the generation spread of your workforce.
Yes, so there are generational differences, but those generational differences seem to be a function less of, well, you're Gen Y, and you're Gen Z, and you're a baby boomer, as though that cohort moves through the world in a really different way. Now, the stresses and strains on an 18-year-old today are different than the stresses and strains when I was 18 or you were 18, like that. Those are different. But when you look at the data, employee engagement at work doesn't vary by age. Employee resilience at work doesn't vary by age. Employees' feeling of inclusion or connection at work across 27,000 people in 27 countries doesn't vary by age. Stress, funnily enough, does vary by age. The youngest cohort and the oldest cohort are the least stressed, would you believe? But that seems to be a function more of level than of age. The most stressed age turns out to be 29. Is anyone 29? Sorry. We're all with you. We've got your back. Okay, we got...
Hang in there.
Hang in there. It gets way better. I mean, not immediately, but... no, 29's a tough... Like, it's not new anymore, and you're not good yet. You think that whatever path you're about to get... I mean, you're good. Don't get me wrong. But you're thinking, wow, then the 29 to 39, that's the path I'm on. So it's like a pretty intense time. But the basic needs of human beings to feel seen as a human, to know what's expected of them at work, to have frequent interaction with people so that you know what's expected all the way during the course of the year, those aren't generational. And we don't see variations in those things, engagement, resilience, inclusion, by age. We see the variation by team, which is a different thing, entirely.
So we have it sounds like a lot of HR people in this room, and I guess I'd love your thoughts. What does a healthy HR department look like to you in 2022?
Healthy,
Okay.
everyone, happy. No, so I run an institute called the ADP Research Institute, which is an institute focused on measuring issues relating to people and performance, funded by ADP. And the opportunity that affords me is to go do a whole bunch of research around the world on things that are really interesting. So we've just done this research on HR. And what is the experience of people of HR? And does anyone care? And it turns out that, we can measure. By the way, if any of you are wonky and like data, go to adpri.org and you can see all this research like sliced and diced 17 ways till Sunday. But the basic fact of HR is if you feel as an employee that your experience of HR is value promoting, so if you feel that the overall experience of the HR function is something that is an overall net positive for you in terms of your feeling of your company, first of all, that overlaps about 51% with your feeling of your manager. So you can have a really great manager, hate HR. You can really love HR, hate your manager. It's a 51-49% overlap. So there is an overlap, but there's an awful lot that you will control in terms of the experience of an employee. That's point one. Second, if you say that you feel like HR is value promoting, you are 8 times more likely to say that you would advocate for the company as a place to work for friends and family. 8 times more likely. And 4 times less likely to say that you have an intent to leave. HR is the single most important driver of talent brand. In this time right now where every CEO, they can find capital falling out of every pocket. They can't find any human capital. So your role and your function is more powerful than any other function in the office right now. Because so goes your function, so goes the company's talent brand. And the manager doesn't matter. Sorry, the manager does matter. It's hugely important. But the manager doesn't drive talent brand. In fact, you can imagine this conversation where you go, I really love my manager, but don't come work here. The entire HR function just sucks. No, my manager's great. That's why I'm going to leave with her when she leaves. So how many, you've all felt that, right? So you own talent brand. That's the first thing. The second thing in terms of what an HR function should be structured as, the first thing is own your own power. Own your own power. You control the most important asset that a company has right now, talent brand. You own it. The second thing is, if you look at what drives people's likelihood to value HR, it's single point of contact. Single point of HR contact, which is weird because it sounds like I'm taking us back 30 years to HR generalists. No, it's more like every single thing that we deal with in HR, from benefits to employee relations to performance management, every single thing is fraught. It's emotionally fraught. I want somebody who knows my name. Don't put me off to a call center in Phoenix to deal with insurance and another call center in Boston to deal with employee relations. I need someone who's like the quarterback, know my name, know if I'm married, know what my kids are, know something about me, then hand me off to a CME. But it's the single most powerful driver of the employee experience is a person who knows me. Now, can tech play that role? I don't know, Adi. I think that the most important function to split in HR, if you design an HR function, I know it's not split this way at the moment, is to split it up between, in a sense, tech and people. There are certain parts of the HR function where we just want to remove friction. We just want to remove friction and make sure the data is accurate and reliable and responsive. And that's all we want. It's a bit like an ATM. I just want that to work. But there's a whole bunch of other stuff, a bit like with banks and ATMs. I don't want an ATM. I want a human to know me and talk to me. And whether it's learning, but it's also family leave. Like, I'm going through family leave. Don't give me a piece of tech because I'm going through a trying time anyway. I need a human to go, I know you, I'm with you, we got some stuff to help you, but I'm here. Now, how do you do that financially? Okay, that's a different question for every single company. But we should split HR up in a weird way between ATM part of it, which in a sense is the HR tech part of it, in a sense. And then all the stuff where you've got humans going, could you please just see me as a human? Because isn't that in your department description. I think we've over-indexed, and God knows I love HR tech. I think we've over-engineered into tech, and we've missed the fact that humans need humans in order to feel seen. Some of those humans are managers, and that's golden, but a lot of them are you. And you, gosh, my granddad was in HR, my dad was in HR, I've been in HR my entire life. We've never actually done research that dimensionalizes the impact of HR on a talent brand. Well, we've just done that, and it's like you guys are in the catbird seat in terms of influence and power. Just step into it and own it. Sorry, just got all rah-rah-y there, but anyway, that's where you live, and there's a big human in human resources.
Yeah, no, that's great. We have a wonderful HR head at Harvard Business Publishing now. Our previous HR head was not good, to the point where my colleagues sort of created a little slogan for our HR department, which she didn't know about, which was Harvard Business Publishing HR, protecting HBP from its employees for over 90 years. So you're kind of on a roll, and I want to keep you on a roll. So I know you do not like the way performance evaluations are done, and probably a lot of us don't like the way performance evaluations are done, but instead of saying, what's a better system just pulled out of thin air, if we're in a system where we have these performance evaluations, there's a legacy of that, how do we get to a healthier place where these evaluations aren't horrible for everybody, don't produce useless or even harmful data? How do we fix the system from within as opposed to imagining a better world?
Well, performance evaluation, the way that most of them are currently done, everyone's different, but the yearly performance evaluation, I was talking to a friend the other day, like a really lovely friend. He's a super hard worker, works as a technical support specialist for real estate folk who need help in support in all the contracts that they do. And she went in for her performance evaluation once a year and was really looking for a 4% raise versus a 2% raise. And someone just go, look, we just did this time and motion study, focus on you and 3 people like you, because you're so good at what you do, we want to model the entire TC function around you. So she walks into the once a year, and this is a good company, performance evaluation, and she sat down and she came out, I called her up afterwards and said, how'd it go? And she goes, well, I'm a 3. And she's like, I'm like, what do you mean you're a 3? She goes, yeah, and it's a 7-point scale. I'm like, wow. And she goes, no, don't worry, it's inverted. I'm like, okay. So, but still you're a 3. She goes, yeah, what they said is, well, we'd never give 6s and 7s because they're fired. And very, very few people get a 1 or a 2. So you're in the upper echelon of the middle of the pack. And she was like, well, wait a minute, I was just a part of a study. I was a study group. I was part of a study group. I wasn't the contrast group. I was a study group. Couldn't I have been like a 2? And they went, well, we ran out of 2s because we have a forced curve, see? And, imagine you're a 2. Just go around the next year that you're a 2. And, of course, she's thinking to herself, and the ones are thinking this too, by the way, I'm not a frickin' number. I'm not a number. Don't put a number on me. Oh, you've got a 42-point scale. Name a company that has a 42-point scale. Not some of you may know the company that does. That doesn't make it any better. It's just false precision. It's all noise signifying nothing, and it communicates to the person that you're not a person, you're a 2. You got 2 on your back. The whole year you have. So if we wanted to make a better system, first of all, you've got to bifurcate performance measurement from performance development. Performance measurement, we are only doing it to do differential compensation. By the way, you don't need a number for that. You don't need a number with a stupid competency model to measure you against the number to sort of prove that it's a real thing when it isn't a real thing. And then you get the 2% versus the 4%. No one cares. If you want to do differential comp, just do differential comp once a year if that's what you want to do. Performance development, as 15.5 well knows, but others know well too, good managers know, is every bloody week. Talk to me all the time. I think for those of you that haven't seen The Last Dance, watch Phil Jackson talk to... He's not talking to Michael Jordan every other month. Every game. Phil Jackson, Michael Jordan doesn't need anyone to talk to him. Yeah, he wants attention around what he could do, tweak, alter, adjust. It's like performance development is every week in the work. What we've done, Art, is we've kludged it together, and we've got this mess of a thing where people, it's like going to a bad dentist. Before you go, you don't want to go. While you're there, it's really painful, and after you're done, nothing good happens. That's a performance review. And then we say, well, we should do it 4 times a year now, because once a year is too slow. Now we take something really bad, and we've done it 4 times a year. And then HR wonders, well, we can't get people to do it 4 times a year. Well, because you've increased the frequency of the wrong thing. What humans want is frequent, light-touch conversations about near-term future every week. And if your managers can't talk to people every week because they've got too many people, they've got too many people. We should rename span of control, span of attention. If you can't check in with each of your people every week for 52 weeks of the year, you've either got too many people or you shouldn't be a manager. We've overcomplicated management. It's these 14 competencies. No, it isn't. It's give you frequent attention between you and your work, you and your work, you and your work, 52 times out of a year. And if you don't want to do that, don't manage people. That's it. That's the right? Like, hey, because otherwise we in HR have to come in and manage them for you. No. Managing people is talking to a person about what they love about what they do, thinking about the work next week and how you can help. Oh, I don't want to do that. Okay, fine. We're not going to give you anyone to manage. Oh, but I want to be a No, you don't. Because I've just told you what managing is. You said, that's boring. 52 weeks, I'll do it for 3 months, maybe. One every quarter. No, you won't, actually. Or even the CEO who goes, well, you don't have to do it at my level. Because at my level, people don't need attention. Okay, what are they? Cease to be human? Really, at your level? No, at your level, Artie, you're a team leader. You're a leader of teams, but if you don't care about what people are doing week to week, they know it first. And so there's no... I was talking to the CHROs of a bunch of big, like Home Depot, UPS, HCA, Williams-Sonoma. All they could talk about was team leader, team member connection. That word, connection. Hard-nosed, think about Home Depot, all he could talk about was connection between team leader and team member. If you keep that kind of connection up, all good things happen. And we in HR don't need to play that role, but we do need to understand that's really what people want.
And you're talking about a weekly check-in, 15 minutes.
Yeah. I would say 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I mean, notwithstanding 15.5 and that number, but 15's a good number. And every week's good. How is this, by the way? There is no cosmological corollary to a week. There is to a day, there is to a month, there's to a year. But we made up a week. Humans made up a week. And every single human society ever studied made up a 7-day week. There's no society anywhere that had a 2-day week. We made up. It doesn't fit with the moon, does it? We have to get different months to fit with it, slide it in, because we made up a week. Why? We like weeks. Maybe it was something to do with the market, but we like a check-in every week. Josh Burson called it radical frequency. No, I love Josh, but no, it isn't radical frequency. It's what parents do with their bloody kids. How are your grades this last year, Brian? Okay, good. We'll talk again next year. No, we won't. Like, come on, humans, all of us, that's why I try to make love and work. And this is a very personal book, but back to the book. So you're happy now, right?
So are you.
Yeah, exactly. You're in this together. But it's a very personal human thing, working, sorry. And we found that out in the pandemic, didn't we? We saw into everyone's closets. We saw everyone's living, the wall came down. And so it's like with parents, you talk to your kid all the time. Why? Because your kid needs tweak, course correct, adjust, attention. Same in managing. It's like the goals you set at the beginning of the year are irrelevant by what? 3rd week of the year? From ADP data, we know that you go back in and check your goals. 4% of people go back and look at their goals even once during the year. Once. You think that, and normally that's right at the end when they go back in to try to tweak or alter the good, right? So they're just stretchy enough to look good, but not slacky enough to look crap. So that's where we are. So yes, that's what I'm talking about. It's not a big, full-on individual development plan every week. It's like, hey, what'd you love last week? What are you working on this week? How can I help? Boom. Now, sometimes it might extend. One time you might go, oh, well, let's dive into that a bit, Artie. But normally it's like, hey, we got you, tweak, and Phil Jackson and Michael Jordan show us what that looks like in the highly intense world of superstar sports.
So your part of your critique is that we're taking these individuals and forcing them into to basically all kind of do the same thing, sort of squeezing the individuality out of us all. There are companies that have tried to address that, and they talk a lot about how our breakthrough concept is we have empowered people. We've empowered people at the front line. We've empowered people to deal with consumers that they would say is helping the business and is bringing out the kind of sense of agency and empowerment. Are you buying that?
Well, no question. Technology has helped take a lot of the rote part of many jobs anyway, and made a lot of jobs more about judgment and human connection and empathy. So more human things. That is no question. That's a trend. But look. I was talking to my daughter the other day, and she had 10 years of geometry in school. 10 years of geometry. She had nothing on herself. Like who she is, what she loves, what she leans into. She knows she's a unique human. In school, she had none of that. Because all of school is basically taking education and doing outside in, and then testing. So you're an empty vessel, I'll do outside in training, and then we'll test you to see how much of it you've retained, and the best student is the fullest. Then you go to work, and despite some of these things where we let people use judgment, we measure people at work in the same way. We assume that you're an empty vessel when you come into work. We laden it with lovely concepts like growth mindset, but if you push on growth mindset, you bump into, there's nothing in you, there's nothing in you, there's nothing in you. You can be anything you want to be, which of course because you have a brother or a sister who aren't you, and you'll never be them, in the same household, and you know that you're never going to be them. You feel like you. And yet we go into work and we do cascaded goals, we do competency models, we do 360s to measure you against the models to find out where you're lacking certain things so you can get, and all the way through life you're measured against the model. There's a model. Many of us in HR, sorry, but we're the ones who are tasked with building the model. It's called a talent management system. And then we select against the model. Then we build algorithms to see your resumes, to see how closely you match the model. And then you join us, and then you're measured against the model. That's called an integrated talent management system. But what it basically says is your uniqueness is an impediment. It's not just irrelevant. Your uniqueness is an impediment to everything that we want to get out of you. And I'm not overstating it, because we've built huge human capital management systems that formalize this. And Marshall McLuhan said, we make our tools, and then our tools make us. I'm sorry, you have such power, because you can force these big HCM providers to start going, wait a minute, the most important and unique, powerful thing about human is that they're unique. If you got 60 emergency room nurses, Artie, you don't have 60 nurses. Yes, they have some minimum things they need to all know how to do, but they're all unique individuals who care for patients in different ways and get different outcomes and different joys from that caring, and the patient can feel it. We can't build systems of standardization as though those 60 nurses are the same, and we wish they were the same. Because then it communicates to every one of those individual nurses that your uniqueness, that uniqueness you feel in yourself, that you want to express in work in some way, not always, you can do some things at home and your hobbies, but you want to express your uniqueness at work. We've built systems that basically communicate what you've been learning since you were 5. Your uniqueness is a bug that we need to fix. And we will put in place these anodyne, banal, but destructive systems that basically say, we're going to try to remove all of those edges of yours.
Okay, so basically he's saying everything you know is wrong, everything you do is wrong. But we have a moment. No, I want to, obviously this is a useful critique, but we just got a few seconds.
Oh, shoot.
In the spirit of From Day One,
yeah.
You know, what's something everybody can do today, tomorrow, you know, to try to fix some of these problems that you say are endemic to all of us?
In terms of HR, one, your talent brand should be screaming loudly, we are super interested in you as an individual. If you find the right crafting words that say that out in the marketplace, not we believe in our people, we want to know you. We want to know you. We're interested in you. If you can find a way to do that, that's powerful. Number 2, for you as a manager, we discovered the technology of Teams 50,000 years ago. Teams made homes for weird people. That's what Teams do. Normally we say Teams, there's no I in Teams, so the point of a team is to tell you you're not as important as the team. That's not why we made Teams. We made Teams to make use of uniqueness. Teams make homes for unique people. Build great teams. You can start now. You don't have to reinvent everything, Artie. You could start now with your team. Who the heck are the people on the team and how do they support one another? Can you turn to your colleague next door and say, this is where you could rely on me the most. This is where you can turn to me. Not this is where I'm the best, but this is where I'm at my best. Oh, by the way, this is where I'm not. This is where I look like a deer in the headlights. This is where I'm going to need help. The verb for the next year will be teaming. How do you team? Not teamwork, but how do you get people to join a team quickly and share who they are and where people can rely on them? The last thing would be for you as an individual, change your relationship to your day. Most of us, we wake up, today's Tuesday, and we think, oh, God, I got to get through it. So today, there's a to-do list that came over from yesterday. I got to get through the day. Or maybe change your relationship with your day and imagine that your day is trying to put on a show for you. And it's trying to show you lots of little clues to that which you love. Which specific activities, moments, situations do you love that are unique to you? Your day's kind of going, da, 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 trying to show you, how about this, how about this? If you can start every day, and I know this sounds woo-woo, Artie, and I'm sorry, but it isn't, because the most successful people do this, they look for what I call red threads, activities where you Before you do it, you look forward to it. While you're doing it, time flies by. When you're done, you feel mastery. You look for moments like that, and every day they're there. And our data seems to suggest that 20% is the threshold. You don't need to love all you do. Find activities that you love in what you do, 20%. And you will have much higher resilience, much higher engagement, be much less likely to quit. 20%. But if you're at 0 and you have a loveless Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday, please don't imagine that it's all just neutral. It isn't. Love unexpressed burns you up from the inside out, and you're damaged. So I think you could start with you tomorrow, just looking for that which you love. And that's put your own oxygen mask on first. That's a good place to start.
That's great. We're out of time. I just want to say I'm proud that you have chosen us to be your publisher. I love working with you. So thank you, Marcus.
Well, right back at you. And thank
right.
you all so much, and thank you.
All right, thanks.
Day one.